Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. He represents Pennsylvania's 14th Congressional District, and he's the Chief Deputy Whip as well. Congressman, good to have you back with us, sir. Thank you.
It's always good to come on, and in advance, I want to say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for being here, sir. Tell me, what do you make of the fact that we are shutting down railways into and out of our country now in order to process more illegal foreign nationals into it?
Well, it's almost like the Biden administration and the far left want as many illegals in this country as possible. And for me, it's staggering how many illegals have come into the country. If you look at it, if you were to total all the illegal immigrants together, they'd be about the population size of Virginia. They'd have around 6 or 7 representatives in the House if they were a state unto themselves that could vote. I mean, this is a staggering number, Vince. It's just not about illegal immigrants coming to the country. It's also about terrorism. It's about fentanyl. Let's just look at terrorism for a second. We've caught 100, or I think it's actually over 100 people on the terrorist watch list, which begs the question, how many people did we not catch that are on the terrorist watch list? Remember, it took 19 terrorists to do 9/11. I can guarantee you there's more than 19 terrorists that have come across that southern border. We also have a fentanyl issue. You got about 300 people a day dying of fentanyl overdoses, and that's because fentanyl is coming across the porous southern border. We cannot overstate the cluster, the disaster that is the southern border.
The problem here, one of many, is that I don't know about you, but I feel so helpless about this. I don't know what to do. I mean, we talk about it till we're blue in the face. This is a massive problem. Seems to be only getting worse by the day, and the Biden administration keeps sticking the shiv between every one of my ribs on this issue. And I've got nothing to do. What can be done, Congressman? Is there any evidence that something is possibly going to ever happen in Congress?
Well, so Vince, going into the next year, Speaker Johnson wants to tie Ukraine funding, which we know that basically every single Democrat and Warhawk in the Republican Party wants. So we know we can negotiate with Ukraine funding, tie Ukraine funding to border security. And that would mean we would get policy wins very similar to what we passed in H.R. 2. H.R. 2 is what the House passed with border security, first border security bill since the early 90s. But if we can get border wins for Ukraine, let's do it. In an ideal world, we wouldn't need to tie border security to anything because it would be seen in America's best interest and the right thing to do. Sadly, with this far left extreme Democratic Party, you have to guarantee that you'll secure Ukraine's border so that we can secure our own border. But again, that shows you the priorities of the left.
Well, it's so totally offensive, that arrangement. It's the craziest thing. But is it your view that that'll work? So if Biden gets money for the country that enriched his family, then he will start taking seriously the obligation to protect our border?
So yes and no. I think it will work. However, we've got to make sure we'll work to secure the southern border. The devil is in the details. What we need to do is we need to make sure we have policy changes. Because if we just throw money at it, so let's say you say, okay, we're going to do a supplemental for Ukraine at $60 billion, and we're going to do a $30 billion supplemental for the southern border. The Democrats will just use that money for the border to process more illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
So what we need to do, so it can't just be a dollar amount given to the border. What we need to do is we need to say, okay, we need remain in Mexico back. We need the border wall completed, or at least completed where it makes sense. We need more agents that are patrolling. And then you have to fence the money, meaning that you have to say, we're going to appropriate X amount of money to the border. However, the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security only gets that if illegal crossings are below a benchmark number from either day to day, week to week, month to month. You pick the matrix, but you've got to have something in there to actually hold the administration accountable.
Yes.
That's really where we are right now.
I'm an optimistic person by nature, but this issue makes me very cynical, unfortunately. And I'm kind of convinced that it doesn't really matter what law you pass. Biden doesn't follow the law, Congressman. I mean, the law right now is if you are illegal, you're not supposed to come into the country. The law right now is we have a border patrol that's supposed to stop you. The law right now is that they should be securing the border. They're not following any of these laws. So why would a new law have any effect whatsoever? I guess that's the point. I'm concerned about that because Biden's just brazenly ignoring the laws when it comes to our border.
Well, absolutely. Well, remember, when you're a Democrat, it's rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah.
And that's how they think. Everything's a double standard. But so am I optimistic that the Biden administration will actually do something? No, I'm not. I'm with you. I'm very cynical about it. And also with all the Democrats and all the far left radical extremists in their party.
Yeah.
Vince, I will give you the silver lining here and what to be optimistic about. Republicans are now taking 55% of the Hispanic vote. Okay, so now look, the fentanyl issue, a crisis. The fact you have terrorists coming across, that's a crisis. But I still think we should stop illegal immigration. But the silver lining here is that we are transitioning into a blue-collar, high school educated party comprised a large part of minorities, specifically Hispanics. As soon as the Democrats start to realize that they are losing the Hispanic vote, watch how quickly they want to shut down the southern border. That's the silver lining for the conservative movement.
Maybe. But one of the issues, though, is that first of all, the Hispanic voters are not illegal immigrants, one. So there's that. Although, of course, you're right that Democrats do want to turn all these illegals into American voters. But two, it's not just, as you know, it's not just Hispanic people pouring across our border now. It's not Central and South America. These are Chinese men who are coming across the border. There's you have African, Middle Eastern, military-aged males. Exactly right. So it's
exactly
bizarre.
Right. You're exactly right, Vince. And I don't mean to minimize the problem at the border at all. Please don't take that comment. I was just trying to find some ray of hope in this mess. That's it. But I can tell you, yes, the Chinese men coming across, which that in and of itself begs the question: why is the CCP sending them here? Because these aren't people that are fleeing from communist China. The CCP and the PLA are directing them here. And then as far as the Africans that are coming across, it's Africans from nations that are known for having terrorist activity, like areas that Boko Haram controls in Africa. Clearly, there is a possible motive to have a terrorist attack here. Also, the Middle Easterners coming across. Remember, Hamas is running around declaring certain days international days of jihad. That is an incredible problem for us, especially, like I said, if you have terrorists that have been caught. Those are just the ones we know of. You probably have a multiple of the hundred that have been caught. You probably have a multiple of that have not been caught, that are in the interior of the country.
Yeah. So what is the conversation? Do members of Congress like chatter amongst each other, like behind closed doors at all? Like I always wonder, like, is this the kind of thing that rises to the level that like everybody's freaking out about it, outraged, they can't believe it, they wake up, they think to themselves, man, America's falling apart, we've got to fight today for the country? Or do you get frustrated? You're like, hey, does anybody else know what's going on around here? Because I feel like I'm the only guy who's recognizing this. What is it, or is it somewhere in between, Congressman Reschenthaler?
No, and Vince, please just call me Guy. No, it's a mixture of both. I mean, this job, it grinds you down. You have to believe that you're here for a purpose, and there's a reason for you being in the office, and you're going to come to work every day. Frankly, that's why you've seen like 30 or 40 retirement announcements already. It's because people don't like to be in office. But I can tell you that the members that I talk to, the members that are coming back, they feel like they're doing it for a reason. A large part is securing the border.
So you get the impression that there is a meaningful group of people within Congress who would like to fix this. I realize, like, sometimes we do see groups of, for instance, Republican congressmen will go down to the border and they'll hold a press conference, try and draw attention to it. But it does feel like this is one of the biggest issues that we're confronting, and that there's not commensurate urgency coming out of Washington. There's a lot of lip service to it, but not really much being fixed, is there?
Well, there's a reason why we had HR2, HR1. So normally those are your marquee pieces of legislation.
Right.
HR1 was our energy policy. We passed that. Our second priority was border security, and the Republicans in the House passed that with all Republican votes, by the way. The issue that we have is we have a radical leftist in the White House. And you can say, oh, Joe Biden's not that radical. Well, I guarantee you the people around him are. The staffers in the White House are leftist radicals. Okay, and you have a Democratic Party that's controlling the Senate, also leftist radicals. So given the fact that we have divided government, unfortunately, just one chamber cannot just make the law. We need 60 in the Senate, and we need a signature from the White House.
Let me move to the White House now for a moment with you. What do you make of the way that they represent all of these issues? They keep on insisting. I've been playing this audio. John Kirby, the adult spokesman at the White House, constantly claims things like Joe Biden is all about border security. He'll say something like that. Or you'll get Karine Jean-Pierre will say that the economy is doing great. Bidenomics is successful. It's working well for everybody. Do you ever look at that and like laugh out loud that they're saying things that are so obviously untrue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're just gaslighting the American public. When it comes to John Kirby, he reminds me of Baghdad Bob. He was the military leader that, as American tanks were rolling down the streets of Baghdad in 2003, he was on the PA system saying everything's okay, we're going to defeat the Americans. John Kirby is our version of Baghdad Bob. I mean, the guy's just out there gaslighting us, just a complete puppet of the administration, the far left radical extremists. And Karine Jean-Pierre, the same thing. The good thing that we have going for us is that both of those people are atrocious spokespeople. I'm glad they don't have a lot of talent in the communications department of the White House, because it makes it easier to push back on their narrative. But the other thing they have, not only are they wildly untalented, they also have horrible messages to go out. I mean, most Americans are with conservatives on the issues. If you look at polling, more and more Americans trust Republicans than Democrats when it comes to border security, when it comes to national security, the economy. And for the first time ever in the history of polling, more people trust Republicans when it comes to education than Democrats. So we are dominating them on the ideas, on the issues. That's why we just totally have not been obliterated by a party, because if you look at it, they have all the institutions in their favor. All the institutions are in far left Democrat control.
That's right.
They have the entire legacy media. The only thing that's holding us back, that's holding us together, is we have the high ground when it comes to ideas and ideology.
Right. So they may not have the message, but as you point out, they do have the machine. And that machine includes the United States Department of Justice. And we are watching right now one of the most obvious efforts of election meddling any of us has ever seen play out as they prosecute the top candidate for president of the United States, Donald Trump, literally the single most popular candidate for president right now. The Biden administration is trying to imprison him before the election. And so what do you make of this? And is this another conversation in the halls of Congress about a guy like Jack Smith, who is a lieutenant of the Biden administration, doing everything he can to take down Trump before the election?
Well, yeah, we talk about this all the time. And if you look at the DOJ we are losing faith in our institutions because our institutions have lost faith in the American system. Okay, DOJ and FBI are just two examples of this, where now you have two tiers of criminal justice. You have one for Republicans, which they throw the book at you, they prosecute you even for crimes you don't commit. And then if you're a Democrat or you're a supporter of the ruling regime, the ruling elite, there are no charges against you. Look at how Hillary Clinton was treated. Roughly the same kind of scenario with Trump, with classified documents, for example. She wasn't even charged, and the FBI raids Mar-a-Lago, brings charges against him. If you look at how the Biden administration is basically a crime family, a racketeering scheme, and Comer and Jordan and Smith will prove this during the impeachment inquiry. But look at how they're treated with no criminal charges, and look at how President Trump is. I mean, President Trump was impeached the first time for something Joe Biden actually did. Remember the quid pro quo? Joe Biden actually conditioned aid to Ukraine on them firing a prosecutor.
Yes.
Trump got prosecuted for the same thing, only Joe Biden actually did it.
Yeah.
So look, these institutes, we should have impeached Ray. We should have impeached Merrick Garland day one when we took back the House. Unfortunately, we did not. But the American people are losing faith in these institutions because these institutions have been weaponized and radicalized.
Yeah. No, it's actually an interesting point. We've already had a presidential impeachment over Joe Biden's behavior. That's very, very fascinating. Guy Reschenthaler, thank you very much, Congressman from Pennsylvania, for your time today, sir.